Welcome to this week's Tribal Experience webinar. We'll just give it a couple of minutes just to let everyone come on board. Thank you for those who are joining early. Bear with us. For those of you that this is perhaps their first webinar with us, just a bit of housekeeping. We love these series to be really interactive, so please pop into the chat or the Q&A if you'd like to submit any questions throughout the next sort of hour, and we'll be tackling as many of those questions as possible in the space of time we've got. Again, I'll just give it a couple of minutes just to let people log on. Welcome, thank you for giving up an hour of your time today to join us. Hope you're all having productive weeks. Looking forward to a bank holiday, which I think is going to be sunny for at least one of the days. Can see people flooding in now, so just give it a little minute for the numbers to peak. Right. Please bear with us here, guys, whilst we just wait for numbers to come on board. So I'll get started as people keep logging in, and so welcome everybody. Welcome back to those that have attended these before, and hello to all of you people that haven't attended one of these before. My name is Jamie. I'm the Business Development Director here at Tribal Worldwide, and I help lead the ideation and creation of the strategies and propositions for the new clients considering to partner with Tribal. For those of you who haven't heard of us before, Tribal Worldwide is the total experience agency. What we mean by that is we think beyond established customer experiences and work with brands to innovate in their customer journeys, whether that be from online to offline, out of home or in store, as well as internal engagement, looking at the sort of processes, procedures, tools that our clients are using to ultimately deliver against those customer experiences. And we work to create ecosystems that essentially build better products, services, communications, and ultimately better businesses. These events help us do this by bringing together industry leaders from a diverse range of sectors and companies to provide new points of view and learn from each other on how we can deliver new, better and more total experiences to change the face of business today, which I think we'll all agree has never been more important than right now. So some of you may know if you've attended these before, but throughout this series, we've looked at the impact of COVID through a few different lenses. We've looked at it through consumer behaviour, business culture, and marketing. But today we're going to be discussing the future of digital experiences from arguably the most important part of marketing that underpins everything, yet the consumer never gets to see, which is technology. We already know that consumers are becoming more tech proficient, and enterprises that are considered laggards in technical innovation are now being forced to move ahead with digital transformation projects. So we'll be sort of discussing this as a topic today, and hopefully you'll take away some interesting insights that you can action in your own businesses immediately. We're really fortunate to be joined by some really senior and experienced individuals today. So first up, we've got our very own Andrew Lyles, our Chief Technology Officer here at Tribal. Andrew is accountable for the entire technology team here at Tribal, works closely with his team to architect and develop the foundations to implement, integrate, scale and maintain technical solutions for our clients, and leads the technical strategies for all of our clients, including VW Group. Andrew has 28 years of solving problems and creating interaction using many technologies. And also joining us from Tribal today is Morning, Andrew. And also joining us today from our technical team is Matthew, our technical director, who's got more than 16 years' experience working in a collection of the world's leading digital and social agencies, building and leading teams to handle projects from large integrated systems to digital campaigns. He's worked with multiple global brands, including Johnson& Johnson and Bayer, Mercedes, Jaguar. I mean, the list goes on really. As well as sort of in the tech space and financial space as well. Matthew's had a lot of experience, so welcome, Matthew.
Hello.
From outside of our business, we're equally lucky to be joined by Dr. Ola Ilinyawu, digital multi-solutions architect with over 17 years experience leading digital customer experience solutions, including 7 of those years, leading on sort of large Adobe Marketing Cloud and Experience personalization solutions across telco, media, retail, and financial services, to include a few brands such as Vodafone, HSBC, and Aldi. Ola's also leads a London-based user group of Adobe Experience Cloud owners and practitioners that constantly meet to share knowledge and learnings with members from some of those businesses, as well as Betway, EE, and BT. So, welcome, Ola. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Morning.
For those of you who joined throughout that introduction, just to reiterate, please do submit any and all questions in the chat today. We like these sessions to be really interactive as we kind of go through the topic today. So, welcome everyone. I guess I just wanted to start off with a few sort of opening thoughts, if you were, sort of looking at this current situation that we're in and the challenges that COVID-19 presents. Wanted to get kind of opening thoughts around what we feel the technical solutions need to be doing, and what businesses need to be looking at from their technology stacks, both now and moving forward, to really future-proof themselves as consumer behaviours change, the ways that people are interacting with, perceiving, and ultimately transacting with brands are changing, and what that means really for businesses' technology stacks, and ultimately rolling up into what that means for their customer experiences. And Ola, I'd love to start with you around kind of what your thoughts are around this topic today.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Ola.
Okay. So, just like you just said, Jamie, thanks for that lovely introduction. So, it's essentially COVID-19 is going to change a lot of things. Of course, companies have been scaling up and improving their digital stack and architectures progressively anyway, even before we had this pandemic and all the attendant issues that have come with it. But even more so now going forward, because of all the effects that COVID-19 has brought to the fore, there's going to be a growing need for companies in terms of technology to do things like moving to the cloud, for example. What that would do is that it removes the dependencies on physical infrastructure, physical data centers, and allows organizations to be able to have a secure platform that they can use anywhere at any time. And it's accessible at any time, anywhere as well. I think basically that would be a move we would begin to see. Well, of course, a lot of companies are already doing that, but more so now, I think that will become almost imperative for survival for organizations to move to the cloud. And the great thing about the cloud is that there are all sorts of budgets there's a budget for every organization. You can start small and then scale up as you scale. It's also, we're going to start seeing a move to anything as a service, if you like, which basically mean looking at all processes, activities, functions, and analyzing all of that within organizations. If that hasn't been done, we're going to see a move, I believe, towards that. And then what organizations are already doing, and I think what more will begin to continue to do or begin to do, the ones that are not started, is basically identifying what parts of those activities or processes are critical to what they're doing, and which ones they can operate internally, and which ones they can outsource, what they can buy. And this will help focus investments in talent and, the whole general way of relating to brands, projecting themselves and relating to customers. Another factor will be rapid automation. Again, the move from manual processes and tasks, that's progressively been happening, especially when tasks are repetitive. For example, things like maybe copying and pasting information from a website, maybe a CRM system, and putting into a CRM system. A call center agent or a customer service agent doing copying and pasting. Automated repetitive tasks like that. Automating them will provide repeated benefits to the organization. It enables the organization to repurpose workforce efforts.
Great.
Sort of things.
Great.
And agile operating models has got to be enforced. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you, Ola. No, that's fine. Thank you, Ola. Andrew, I'd like to go to you next to some opening thoughts around this topic then, off the back of what Ola was saying there. How do you feel, or what have you been seeing even over the last few weeks with our clients that you feel perhaps is causing a sort of shift in how clients are perceiving the technology solutions they need in order to deliver digital experiences?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. There's a couple of points I've been thinking about. One is about how can we make the online experience, really more compelling and useful to people as we're in a lockdown state, or as we'll probably be remaining in some kind of semi-lockdown for a long while. So you can't get out to experience brands in quite the same way. Now, quite a lot of pieces of technology have always been there for the last few years, and we've been experimenting them, sort of virtual dressing rooms, so you can put clothes on a mannequin or yourself and see what it looks like. We've been experimenting with a kitchen company where you can scan a room and get an understanding of the size. But this technology is rapidly becoming more available. So there is you can scan your entire room and determine the size and space, so that can I fit a wardrobe in? Then what would it look like? An augmented reality can present that to you, so you can feel comfortable about, I could actually buy this wardrobe. I know it will fit here, but I've never seen it, never touched it. But I'm okay with that. Or it might be something like, I've got a picture up there. Maybe I'd like a new picture, but what would it look like in context? I think people will be able to experiment with and use technology to help make those decisions, where previously, you can buy a dishwasher online without ever seeing it. Perhaps that's okay. But something a bit more kind of arty, like a picture or a dress or something like that, you'd want to touch the fabric or see it on you, see how it lies on you. All of that stuff is going to be ever more important. And brands that don't do that, you'll see a distinction between those who bother to invest in that technology and those who can do the trying on type stuff. Or will it fit? Will separate out in the race and get more custom, I think. I can tell you a couple of sort of war stories that are happening at the moment. I'm working with a retailer to rapidly get stuff online because they can't sell their particular products. And it's tempting to kind of do the whole thing, do a whole boil the ocean, make it a really beautiful experience, but not in these times. You need to get something out rapidly. So this is a different approach, where we've attempted to build something very rapidly online with the minimum pieces of data that's necessary to sell the particular product. But we will then come back and enhance that with other marketing materials, videos that expound the features of this product, etc. And perhaps you've got to do that in layers. And for them at the beginning, it's going to be quite clunky. There'll be a main website, and there'll be a sort of selling website, and they'll be pretty separate, and there'll be an awkward junction. It's then very, very important to connect across those dots. I was working with a wine seller recently, and they have got that similar problem. They've got a website, they've got an app, they've got a forum, they've got a shop, and they're all separate. The problem here is that it's very frustrating for customers. You go into the forum and you chat about a wine and you get a recommendation from somebody. There's no way you can link that back to the shop easily. Now you have to start from the top of the shop and work your way through. This is deeply frustrating to customers. We all know the experience of doing a sort of telephone banking type thing where you enter your password or your account number and then someone asks for you down the line. It's really grating, and people expect more now. Okay, it's not completely necessary, but the expectations are very high. So whenever one builds a website, I'm imploring my clients to think about, can we help the offline online junction more? So if you're on the website and you're creating something, it's a basket or a configuration or the way I'd like to have my kitchen, in the case of the kitchen thing, I need to take that configuration and easily carry that through to the offline experience, because people will be spending a lot more time researching at home and then rarely going out to let's say, the kitchen showroom just to do the last bit of the transaction. They need to be able to carry that context with them in an easy way. So don't just put a form that says contact the retailer or contact the showroom. You need to be able to pass the context through. Those are really important things. And we call that blended retail at Tribal, and we've been really pushing this hard. We've got lots of good evidence that shows that when you can be online to offline, you boost overall sort of commercial effect of linking those things up.
Really interesting, Andrew. I'd like to circle back to some of that, and I know that one of our attendees has submitted a question around that, so we'll come back to that, Catherine, if that's okay. Matthew, as well, just sort of dovetailing into both Ola and Andrew's sort of opening thoughts there. Is there anything you'd like to add because I know you look at things slightly differently as well?
I think from my angle, everything depends. Start looking at it from the sort of brand, product, business that you are. It's going to what's going on is going to affect you compared to if you're small and more agile or big. And obviously, bigger brands, bigger products, all of those can be then spread out as well over kind of like this timeline of where they are in a digital transformation piece anyway. Those who've already started maybe faring better to those who have made excuses in the past to not start this process of understanding how to shift more online and understand digital and social and everything that comes with it. So I really think starting from a small, obviously they can potentially adapt faster, shifting onto an online e-commerce world, being able to potentially understand and offer products or services in a new way, compared to the bigs, have to understand what their brand is or what their product is, and how that then is how it's needed in the world first of all, and then how you put that online or sell that online. I know we were speaking about an experience from Andrew, and really kind of amazing experiences from augmented reality. But I care an awful lot about, and I can see this in big and small, the actual experience of just being able to purchase a product. I've seen talks and articles about using machine learning and all of that, but most brands are not getting the basic rights and the basic experience. For example, if you're purchasing something, even if you're using a software as a service, such as BigCommerce or Shopify, or you have a custom built solution, how easy is it for a user to buy using the payment method of their choice? How do we all go online and actually find out we have to pay in a way that we're not comfortable with, compared to PayPal, compared to credit card, compared to Apple Pay and Google Pay? All of those differences should actually be catered for the basic experience, because if users can actually easily purchase it, you're more likely to do that, and then start adding on to the top of it. As well, from the offset, the way everything's changing, especially more for the bigger brands, it's less worrying about the tech at the moment and strategizing about what's coming. And then technical consultants can actually start helping you to understand how you do that. The important thing for me from a technology standpoint is understanding how to build a flexible architecture, so something that can scale with your needs. That's a way the industry has been going, from building standalone websites and content management systems that save out static pages to doing microservices, and that's how we kind of have been pushing all the brands that we work with. So once you have all of these microservices in place, being able to adapt faster or create a new one or change the skin for better experience is easier, cost effective, and faster to be able to deliver in the long run. But again, it depends on where you are within the journey.
Yeah.
What this has shown, regardless of if it's COVID, it would be something else. You know, we've been speaking about the death of the high street for a very long time now. It's always something that's slowly forcing you to understand and move online and digital. So wherever you are, you just have to potentially move a bit faster.
Yeah. Definitely, thank you, Matt. And there's a couple of things mentioned there that I think roll up into a really interesting next point. So, Andrew, you mentioned blended retail there, and you know, Matt, you were sort of referencing there that look, this is just another scenario. You know, there's always something happening in economies or in the marketplace that essentially cause challenges for us to create and sustain good customer experiences. And so I'd like to sort of put it to the group really around, you know, when it comes to delivering a truly blended experience, you know, a really seamless online to offline customer journey. How can businesses ensure that the rigor is there, so that it's reliable and consistent every time? Because we've seen some examples over the last few weeks of businesses that, quite frankly, their online assets were obviously just not up to par with regard to being able to withstand, you know, an influx of website traffic, for example, or an influx of orders coming through, or you know, what have you. So really ensuring that sort of your future proofing and making your solution as bulletproof as possible. You know, and also, you know, to Catherine's question, you know, how can you deliver that truly blended, you know, customer experience when perhaps you don't have a physical product? So apologies, there's a couple of questions in there, but I guess coming back to you, Ola, then. So what's your sort of viewpoint on delivering this truly blended customer experience through technology, through really rigorous technology, and how can you do that if you perhaps don't have a physical product?
Okay. I think there are a few things that that needs to be known up front. It's not before diving in and actually doing anything. First of all, it's important for organizations, in my experience, to start with a solid data foundation. What that basically essentially means is that they need to know exactly what sort of data they have. They need to be able to recognize all the different silos where the data is stored, and be able to ingest that data into maybe maybe a central pool, or at least in some formats that it can be readily understood and used within the organization. Because it's amazing how much data that organizations have that they do not use, because every part of, no matter how small, of course, yes, it could be maybe a small organization might have one person doing maybe everything or a host of things. But it's also important to know where that data is and store it in a proper format. It's then important to know, to have clarity on what I would call, you mentioned the customer journey, and I think Andrew did as well. You and Matthew, organizations need to understand what I'll call the use cases they need to support. And in order to do that, it's important to understand the customer journey and plot it appropriately. And that allows organizations to start to create a sort of map, in terms of a segmentation map, to say, okay, these are the sort of customers that we have or we're attracting. This is what they would do. This is how they would go about it. And then that enables a sort of a customer template to be created. What that essentially means is have a bucket of customers, whether you segment them by demographics, by spend, by preferences. But, you know, you just have a sort of profile template for guidance on all of this. What that does is that it's very important to be able to engender differentiation, in my experience, into whatever we do as a digital organization. As it sounds like this digital organization, sorry. how is our brand or our product different to the others? It may not be technical. We may focus on the product and maybe focus on the technical aspect, but it could just be little things in that how we interact with a customer, just the service. A customer comes to our website, we greet them by name, little things like that. We understand their interaction history in the past. We say, oh, you bought this lovely headset 4 weeks ago. Would you like our new, our new mobile phone, if you like? Or you bought this financial service. You are entitled to this particular set of new innovations we have. Will you be interested? Things like that. It's personalization enables that differentiation. And to be able to do that, data is important. Segmentation is important. Understanding our customer journey is important. Understanding the customer profile is important. So that's how we put it.
Mm. Yeah, data is a foundation, absolutely. And so, Andrew, once you've sort of got to a point where perhaps, you've got that sort of visibility and sort of heavy lifting done from a data perspective, how in real terms can you deliver these truly blended retail experiences in a way that you're ensuring that the technology is rigorous, reliable, consistent? And again, going back to Catherine's question, how can you do that if perhaps, unlike your kitchen example, you don't have maybe that physical product, but while still providing that really seamless blended customer experience?
Okay, there's several layers in that question.
We've got to peel it back, Andrew.
I'll start perhaps with this dysfunction between on and offline. I've quite often experienced myself. You go online, you'll experience something, then you speak to someone either on the phone or in a store, and they have no idea what you're talking about. In fact, they may not even use the consumer-facing website. That's the first thing. Basic training for those staff. They need to know what consumers will experience themselves. I know they might have an internal system if they're a bank that is, very complicated, but they also need to know what I would see as a customer so they can comprehend perhaps where my confusion is or how that product is sold to me in a consumer facing thing. So and making it possible to jump from the consumer facing digital experience through to either their view if they're on a phone or something like that, or if they're in line in a store. Let's go to the non-physical sort of example. I was thinking then about two types of things. Supposing it's insurance, that's surely eminently possible to have a blended experience there because it's an entirely intangible product. You can explore all of its virtues online, and then you can speak to someone on the phone. But the main thing then is, can I kind of get a half-cocked sort of quotation number that I'm mulling over? Do I want this kind of comprehensive type of insurance? Here's my sort of draft number, and I can give it to someone on the phone, and they can pick up exactly where I am. That's the really, good thing. Just to connect those two channels is really important to make it as frictionless as possible for the consumer. Another one I was thinking about, we've been for travel, for a different organization, we're building customized videos. I can see this entirely appropriate for travel. So, I mean, notwithstanding travel agency is a dying art, perhaps. But supposing you are doing that and you're used to giving people brochures or assembling things physically, there's no reason why this kind of industry cannot adapt to use digital formats much more easily. I could be sent by my travel agent a customized video brochure that says, here you are, you're arriving in Bangkok, here's what, and then a lovely video of the rich tapestry colours of Bangkok. And then now the next thing I'm proposing, you go to the jungle and they've got a video about this and you tell them how to get there. A personalized video is pretty simple for us to assemble dynamically for customers. It is basically another type of content management system. Everyone is now familiar, all marketers are familiar with a content management system. I want a website, I want to put this content in, and I want to do it. I don't want the technical people to be involved. Pretty much we're now at that same point with video. You can say, assemble this video brochure for my customer with item 1, 2 and 3 in that order. The system can automatically overlay, dear Andrew, here's your little brochure. All this stuff is eminently possible. So when you think about content management systems, start to think about that as assembling video in real time, live for customers. That gets really exciting. It's very compelling and so shareable. You can put it on your social feed and say, "Oh, do you think we should go there for a holiday?" It gets it very exciting for customers if you can bring that kind of dynamic video element in. So that's some ideas about how to sell non-physical stuff.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, and Matt, same question to you, really. I suppose this sort of blended retail concept that Tribal's been working on for some time. We'd love to sort of get your point of view on how to ensure that rigor and reliability and consistency as consumer trends change and as this spike in digital usage seems to be happening.
So in terms for me for blended retail, what I've been leading currently in Tribal, and I think is the right, because it was my recommendation, is personalization. So I realize Ola mentioned it before, and Andrew actually touched on it with the videos. It's the industry, especially with the charge with obviously social kind of advertising and social media, is the generation of personalized content. Within social platforms, you can on the fly generate short videos based around an individual's location, preferences, really food type, and or what they watch, what they read, all of which can then generate unique videos created and published to help generate that kind of interest. So first and foremost, I think personalization, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Most companies will have the data potentially that's already required. If you're used to working within platforms such as Facebook, you can gather user groups based around the customers that you kind of already have to and start to be able to build up on that, and then aim at people and use that it's privatized, but use the data to be able to formulate personalization marketing content. I think, and that can happen whether it's on the website or in social feeds or anywhere digitally, even digital out of home potentially. One of the unique pieces we've been doing is understanding digitized shopfront windows, being able to instantly understand what someone is wearing to be able to generate what is on the screen, something that's within the shop interests to them. It's us playing with image recognition and machine learning to be able to see how the future is going to potentially unfold. What's really interesting is that question, and I desperately want just to have a workshop in terms of the software as a service provider. I mean, and to answer that specifically, I really think obviously it depends on what your software as a service is. Are you to consumer? Are you to businesses, agencies? Are you offering microservices, as I've referenced earlier on? It really depends on what you're doing. However, as this has all started, what I would have done is sat down with my team and just reviewed how our software as a service, what our product is, and how it relates to everyone in the current climate. Simple. First and foremost, I would expect a software as a service to already be flexible in terms of technology to be able to scale. A beautiful case in point is look at Shopify and every big commerce and all the other e-commerce platforms that allow you to build websites. They will have projections year on year of how much space they need in terms of servers and technology to be able to scale in accordance. And then at a drop of a hat, they had to scale as hundreds, if not thousands, of all over the world. Additional sites were added, and that broke their kind of projections. Yet that none of their sites have slowed down or started to fail. That's handling the experience and the technology stack merging perfectly together. So as a software as a service, I'd be looking at how does my brand work within the new environment that we're currently in, and it's not going away anytime soon. And then I'd be looking at, again, depending on what your software SaaS, what you provide, I'd be looking at how I speak about that then. Okay, because this is coming from someone that uses a lot of software as a service providers, obviously within technology, but the way you market yourselves may have to change. A lot of the time with the SaaS providers that I deal with, you go to their website, for example, people will be on the hunt for a particular solution. You go to their website and a lot of it is generated to try and get you on the phone with them. Some either provide, here's a license fee, just purchase it all online and you're good to go. We release your key, go and use it. Others are, we really want you to speak to us. And see if that's working or not. A/B testing is really important right now. in terms of understanding what's working and what's not, and how to evolve and change rapidly for your software as a service. And I expect most SaaS providers to be able to be that flexible, because typically SaaS providers generally are. But all of that is just coming, planning, and moving fast, which we expect you to be able to do. Understand how to speak to people and market in the correct way. That may not have changed much.
Sure. Just to add to that, what we did in one major organization in terms of having that sort of integrated customer experience was linking the retail and the digital experiences together. So we found out that it worked more effectively for some particular products or services when the customer is able to actually book, if you like, online. So you have a customer searching or inquiring about a particular product, maybe not directly, but just by the interaction history. And through that digital channel, then basically, of course, you have details about the customer in terms of maybe their name, or at least you know what location they're in. And then you offer them an in-store appointment based on what the interaction history or what that particular interaction was about. And what we found out when we collated the numbers after a few months using a very small analytic capability was that increased the customer experience greatly, and also increased revenue and decreased the cost of actually acquiring customers and servicing them. And the same would apply for things like abandoned carts, which is something maybe quite straightforward, but a lot of organizations maybe sort of leave money on the table, if you like. So someone goes digitally and a website tries to order or inquires about product, get to the checkout, and they don't pay. And then 2 hours later or the next day, they go into the store or they call someone in the organization. And because they've got siloed systems, the data is not so integrated that systems are talking to each other. The retail store misses that particular customer looked at a certain product maybe a few hours ago or a few days ago, or the call center person or the other person on the end of the line could miss that as well. And those are all missed opportunities, which can be improved upon. Of course, organizations are doing that, some are, but a lot of organizations need to be looking into that. Just thought to add.
Absolutely, thank you, Ola. Yeah, that connecting the on and offline, absolutely, is something that I know has been talked about for a number of years, but still a lot of businesses are sort of falling behind on. Just to sort of switch up the conversation a little bit now, we've talked a lot about the consumer behaviours, the need for personalisation. Ola mentioned sort of some of the potential shifts more towards cloud services, etc., right at the start of this chat. So I guess just wanted to get the opinion of my panel here around how do we feel this change in how customers interact with, perceive, and transact with businesses, and the shifts in consumer behaviour. And the need to obviously make sure that the customer experiences are still delivering against those changes. Do we feel that this will impact how businesses may be rationalising the technology solutions that they'll be considering? And Andrew, I'd love to come to you on that first. You know, the way businesses are could be rationalising the way the technology solutions they're considering. Do we feel that might be changing because, quite frankly, the need of the consumer is changing?
Well, I think Ola kind of touched on that a moment ago. Sometimes, think, for example, a challenger bank or a traditional bank. The challenger banks have real trouble. The traditional banks have real trouble being as nimble as the challenger banks, because the challenger banks come into the market with no kind of legacy and they can start from zero. I've been talking to a startup about kind of land and property type stuff, and when you've got a blank sheet of paper, it's so easy to start. So this is the sort of mighty challenge for established businesses. At some point they have to bite the bullet and just leave behind the past, sometimes those silos that Ola referred to are just impassable because they are it's enforced by the structure of the business. It's enforced by we've always done it this way, and it does take some serious change management at the top of the organization, probably to set up a splinter organization which is given the permission to start from scratch and not use any of their legacy. I'll give you a sort of try and give you a real tangible example for that. I was working with Eurostar many years ago now. We were trying to improve the customer experience of buying a ticket. Now, it's quite complicated when you buy a ticket because you've usually got multiple, as a consumer, you've got multiple requirements. I want to go with a certain party, I want to go from here to here, and I want to see all the options. And to get live availability from these systems is a very difficult technical problem because there are so many different sort of permutations. And often the way that the original system was built requires you to enter data in a particular order for it to determine the answer. And whatever you do on the front end, however pretty you make it, you can't change that functional flow. And if that functional flow is not what customers now want, they don't want to enter 9 different pieces of information before they get anything out of the system. You're never going to fix that. You just can't. You just basically got to bulldoze it and ask a new set of people to think about the problem afresh with the current user experience requirements right from the top. And that's obviously the way that I would want to design any system. We technologists are slaves to the experience, utterly the slaves. We start with experience. What does the customer want? That drives the experience design, and then the technologies people should sort of build from that. And sometimes it's unavoidable in terms of rationalization. That's the thing you want to do. Take it away and create new. And that's the only time. Then you will notice how different sort of the new banks are. If you've got a new credit card or something, and you get instant answers in your phone, going, "Crikey, I've just paid for it here, and now it's telling me here." Never would that happen in my old bank. It would take them a week or something to tell me that happened. With paper statements. Those old banks using those systems will never get over those problems unless they just start again.
Interesting. I know some of the bandwidth issues there, but I could hear you the whole time. So hopefully our attendees could as well, as the video just clipped out. Ola, just because you mentioned it right at the beginning about potential shifts toward in trends towards the solutions companies may be looking at. So same question to you really. Where do you see that going as how businesses are sort of rationalizing the technology solutions they're engaged with?
Okay. In terms of them, check the businesses doing that. I mentioned the move to cloud. What that does is, in terms of the flexibility, of course, it gives organizations flexibility to be able to move quickly, to be able to scale. Cloud is important in the sense that for any organization at all, there is a budget for hosting your systems on the cloud. And in many cases, it's usually cheaper than having an on-site or an on-premise experience for your organization. Anyone, anytime within the organization can go in, perform technical queries, see how the tool is performing, and check customer interactions. People can work from home. People can work remotely. You can put all sorts of security and VPN type infrastructure in place to guide your assets. So that is quite important. Again, we've talked about crafting things as a service, anything as a service really, looking at what we focus on or what's critical for our organization, what we do better and what we can outsource and what we can buy, all those sort of things. It's quite important. So one thing that an organization like Audi, if I can use their name, I'm sure this is something I can share, did, was that this was just before the big outbreak in Germany. And that's the COVID-19 outbreak, because they had a rush first. I mean, we had to lead that. They looked at their store, they looked at the there's a way they calculate how much they make per different square meter, different meter, and all that. And they then found out that they were making a lot of money from selling large items. But they couldn't put those large items on the shop floor because that took away spaces for other things. So it was then decided in moving to a much more digital and nimble type structure to focus more with third-party suppliers. So on the particular website itself, interaction. Hello?
Yes, hello, yeah.
Yeah, customers were then given we then integrated the particular solution to sort of drop shippers, if you like, third-party suppliers, so that if you wanted a table, for example, you couldn't go into the Aldi store and see a physical table that you wanted. Aldi didn't want to take care of that in terms of the logistics of sending you a table. But you will see pictures of the table, you see a 3D dimension, you see all sorts of images on it and how it would work. And then if you did place the order, that order would go directly to that particular third party and they would supply to the customer. So, changes like that, those sort of I'm not sure if that's very relevant, but those sort of thinking around your processes, looking at your stack, doing some rational analysis, and then correcting things going along and doing that, and be more agile. Organizations being more agile in the operating models, which is this particular example. Does that answer your question?
It's an interesting sort of case study, I suppose, on how they've utilised sort of, I suppose, technology logistically in the physical retail space, to create a different customer experience for their customers. I mean, Matt, I know you and I have been working with a couple of clients recently around sort of the rationalisation of sort of of their web platforms that they're using, for instance. So making sure that's future-proof. You used the word scalability a lot, over the last sort of 40 minutes or so. And if you were talking to a client right now about sort of, future-proofing that sort of selection of perhaps a web platform, what do you think the key things they need to be considering are?
Well, to be fair, Andrew stole exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, no.
I'm going to fully support this. Depending on who you are and what your business is, it's your end user. They start, and I've never used the phrase, but we are kind of slaves to that. We have to develop what they do. And as your business grows, though, you need a technical architecture that needs to grow with it. So we work with. Sorry, I don't want to be an advertising pitch here, but world's leading brands. But we also work with startups. And they are two widely different costs. However, when with either one of them, we look at how you're going to be growing and how you're going to be scaling, and we work differently with either. But it comes to it's understanding your users first and selecting a system that can be cheap and effective, but can scale then as your users scale and as we help you grow your user base. So it's quite. I think it's simply it's that. I think this is a really interesting time for a lot of the nimble ones. Sorry, I don't remember who used the word nimble earlier on, but many years ago, I joint led a team that was tasked with a certain bank to say if we could start again, lose all of the infrastructure that we have. How would we be a bank? We went back with a kind of a chameleon bank approach, which was received so well by all, absolutely perfect. This is what we need to be, but we can never become it. It would cost in the billions to change our architecture from years of building up complex systems to become something that's, when I say chameleon banking, it was more personalization, a bank that can adapt to the user. And that's why I fully support Andrew, because I have done research in this sense to say it's all obviously dependent on the user, but by this level of personalization in this day and age of what they expect. So I think if you're small and you're nimble, or if you're big and you're nimble, now is a perfect opportunity in a brutal business sense to be able to grow and offer what the people you're challenging against can't. And for the bigger businesses, and this is across all of them, I don't think this is a time to start kind of caving in now and just trying to protect what you've got and not be able to change. If it wasn't for what's currently going on, not sure if you follow the stock market, but experts have been warning of a recession for the last couple of years, there is always going to be something that forces you to change. There'll be the companies that have to change by force because of the events going on, and there are the companies who are continuously adapting and can ride the wave better. The costs of both depends on the size of your business, obviously, but ramping up quickly when you're forced usually means it's harder to adapt in the future compared to understanding your users and reviewing that year in, year out, every month. What do your users want, and be able to adapt. Technology has been changing to support this with microservices. 10 years ago or 20 years ago would build you a CMS which very much hard-coded templates and very harder to change compared to microservices now and headless content management systems that allow you to be able to separate your data and the experience that's required. Unfortunately, that is always an ongoing process as technology changes. But I agree with Andrew. Just to summarize, is your user, and then you build around them. Understand what their needs will be in the future, and that will start to lay in your strategy for your own evolution.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, thanks very much, guys. I suppose in the final sort of 10 minutes, I wanted to try and just, I guess, summarize. There's a lot of sort of obviously technical discussion around this, because ultimately that underpins how we're delivering these customer experiences and connected customer experiences and all the stuff that we've been talking about. So I guess in summary from each of you, as sort of some closing notes, what would be your top piece of advice right now to clients with regard to what perhaps they should be learning from the last month and a half since this all came into effect in the UK, and how can they take that forward to continue to innovate, drive innovation, drive improvements in their customer experience? I guess, and starting with you, Ola, if that's all right, what would be your top piece of advice to businesses to learn from the effects that COVID has had on marketing and businesses right now?
It's important for businesses to start thinking beyond physical interaction, at least not completely, but I believe going forward, at least for the next couple of years, until we come up with a vaccine, until we understand this particular pandemic much more better, there will be a phased move to normality. And anything could happen in between all that again. So basically what I'm saying is that companies need to think beyond the old way of doing things, which was maybe lots of business travel, clients coming into the high street, customers visiting stores, interacting with our customers physically. There's a move towards more digital interactions. So what do we need to do? Invest in that. A nice functional website with tools available for every budget, every organization, tools that personalize, tools that differentiate, tools that identifies whether you're a customer or a visitor, tools that target appropriate and relevant content to our visitors or our customers as they visit, tools that stores that data so that we can act on that data, and also following up with customers all digitally. So there needs to be a change in thinking, which is already happening, but more so now. This has been forced upon us, and that organizations need to seriously focus on those things, I believe.
Thank you, Ola. And Andrew, some final thoughts from you around what you'd be advising our clients right now to learn from this.
So this isn't really a tech thing, but I think that we should reset our expectations of customers, what they want. This means primary research back in the original. Why are customers interested in my brand, and how will they interact? All the received wisdom over the last years, be very skeptical that it's going to work. So don't do the same, basically. And I can't advise you on that, but I can advise you need to do some primary research. Otherwise, you're pointing in the wrong direction, very likely. Next thing is, okay, given we're going to be sitting at home and rarely going out, digital experience really matters a lot. No surprise there. Think more about immersive videos There is really no reason why you can't have a beautiful video on your website. There's no problem with bandwidth or any of that kind of tech now. That's very easy. Think about the next time you look at a fashion website and you're thinking of buying a dress or a blouse or something. What's the swoosh moment if you spin around? What's the fabric? How does it lift up? Are you getting that from a static image? You're probably not, are you? If you had a video of a model moving, that would give you much more idea about that product. Shoot videos. I mean, Tribal doesn't do that. I'm not. But I think as an experience, I think that's very good. But think also in the non kind of fashion sense. I'm always worried when I buy a piece of tech. Have I got the right kind of sockets and plugs? Let's have a video. I want to see the back of it. All those kind of things. Marketeers often forget about giving all those details. A picture or a video, it's a 1,000 words there. Secondly, or thirdly, I would come back to this. Remember to be frictionless. We're going to be in competition with loads of other people now, and making it a pleasant experience is important. Now, we talked a little bit on AI. This is probably not the time to go into that too much, but a lot of what I believe AI will come into this market is to make things less frictional, make it just a little bit easier there. It anticipates, it fills in things for you, it reorders things into preference orders. All those kind of things help make it an easier experience. And fourthly, I think while we're in this kind of lockdown phase, people will crave social reassurance for what they are doing. Many consumers they love shopping with their friends. They're not going to be able to do that perhaps in the same way, but they'll want to say, what do you think about this? Should I buy this? Is this nice? We need to find easy ways that people can share this from into social channels. A lot more of that is necessary to and this will separate those brands who bother to put all that stuff in from the sort of boring brands, and this will give those percentage increases to versions, I think.
Really great, some really great nuggets of insight there. Thank you, Andrew. And Matt, you've got the privilege of final closing words there. Same question to you, really. Final piece of advice to the clients that you'd be talking to right now.
My advice is how I plan. So part of my job working with Andrew and working with the agency and for our clients, whether it's complex technology through to marketing technology, is understanding how we continuously evolve. So when any event happens, you're flexible enough to be able to handle it. And I know it can be daunting. There's lots of technology. There's now lots of platforms. Social really isn't just the big four. People are across so many different areas. So I like to break it down into kind of like what I call the here and now. That's from now to 2 years. What technology, what platforms, what experience, what should we be actually actively investing in and understanding really how is this meant to be working for us as a brand or as a product, whether it's a software as a service or you're actually selling something physical. Then we look at kind of like around the corner. So within 2 to 4, 2 to 5 years, what are the technologies, what are people speaking about that I should start investigating? And then you look further afield, so from 4 to 5 years plus, what is it that everyone's absolutely speaking about now that maybe I don't have to be investing in, but I should just be keeping my eye on? You review this on an annual basis as you're working towards it. We do it at Tribal, for the here and now and what's around the corner. What technologies should we be able to offer? What new methodologies? All of that, whether it's actually from the tech or from the advertising and the create arms that we do, it's just continuously planning, but it's doing it in a way that A, isn't daunting, and B, is really easy to manage and something that you can do yourselves and or speak to your agencies and partners with and within the business themselves. So the here and now, around the corner, and in the future. And break it down to what you should actively be doing on what you should be playing with in terms of technology or platforms, and then in the future. And it doesn't have to be expensive at this point. It's a really start playing with what's coming through. Get started now, and then do that year on year as we do with our clients and we do with ourselves to be able to adapt and evolve.
Great.
It's more important that we ourselves are adaptable before we start looking at the technology, how we speak to our clients and our users, and what our product is. So that's kind of my advice. That's what I do.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. So listen, we're nearly at time. So just in case anyone had a hard stop, just wanted to wrap up there. Look, thank you very much for our panelists for giving up their time today, and thank you all of you for coming and having a cup of tea or coffee and a listen to what we had to say. We'll make this recording available to everyone if they wanted to share it among their colleagues or watch it back again, as we've covered off a lot of ground here today, I feel. Please do give us a follow on LinkedIn and Instagram, Travel Worldwide London, using our hashtag Total Experience. This is a series, so we hope to see you again at a future event. And of course, if anything has sparked some thinking within your own business from today's webinar, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You'll be getting a few emails from us as follow-ups, making sure you've got all the information and links that you need on this and future webinars. So please reach out if you'd like a bit more of a sort of deep dive into your personal situation and within your business at the moment, and we can see how we can help. Listen, bank holidays coming up, and so I'll let you get on for the rest of your day. Please stay safe, keep well, enjoy some sun this bank holiday, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care now. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.